From the High Definition Production Center of Troy University's Broadcast and Digital Network and Troy campuses around the world, this is Troy TrojanVision Weekly.
Hello and welcome to Troy TrojanVision Weekly. We're glad you joined us for this look at what's happening in and around Troy University. I'm your host, Aaron Taylor. Language teachers from across the state met in Troy over the weekend to learn more about ways to teach foreign language. Samantha Charles has the details.
The Alabama World Languages Association was on Troy's campus holding a series of workshops followed by an awards luncheon hosted by Troy University.
We are having a conference for all of the world language teachers of the state. We do professional development for them, and this is one of our big professional development opportunities for the year. We have sessions for 5 different languages: Spanish, French, German, Latin, and Chinese.
The Alabama World Languages Association is an organization designed to motivate educators to improve world language education for all students.
We're teachers sharing best practices with other teachers, sharing ideas, exploring new resources, brainstorming. This is the professional development event for foreign language teachers in Alabama at the K-12 level, and it gives people like me from a university level the opportunity to serve and present and share, and it gives the K-12 community an opportunity to learn. So there's a lot of that going on in these workshops.
More than 200 language educators attended this year's conference in hopes of becoming Teacher of the Year.
We have several awards that we're giving out. We have a Teacher of the Year award, we have an Administrator of the Year award, we have a Promising New Teacher award, and for a lot of the different languages, they've all nominated somebody for the Teacher of the Year. So we've had like a French Teacher of the Year, German Teacher of the Year, who have all competed to be what we call the Teacher of the Year in Alabama, who will go on to compete at a regional level first.
West says one would be surprised to know that approximately 75% of the world's population does not understand English. Samantha Charles, Troy, TrojanVision News.
It's one of the biggest days in college football, and here at Troy, it was no different. The Troy Trojans added 25 players to its roster on National Signing Day to help rebuild the wall. William McCarthy has the details on what is being called one of the best signing classes in Troy history.
Troy football coach Neil Brown and his staff signed one of the highest rated classes in school history. The class, which consists of 25 players, is ranked second in the Sun Belt Conference by 24/7 Sports and is littered with some of the top players in the state of Alabama and the South.
This 2016 class represents 25 guys and 25 not only really good football players, I believe, but also 25 guys that are going to make an impact on this university, earn a degree from this university, and also be tremendous character people here in town.
One day, all these recruits will be playing inside Veterans Memorial Stadium behind me. 20 of these players are high schoolers who plan to graduate in May. 5 of these players are junior college transfers who are already enrolled here at the university. 15 of these players are from the state of Alabama.
Our main objective is to protect our home turf. Thought we did that. We signed 15 guys within the state of Alabama. I think that says a lot, not only about the talent in our state, and I think this is one of the most talented classes of football players that this state's seen in a while. But I think it also speaks to the high school coaches and the high school coaching relationships that we've built. 3 Wiregrass kids in this signing class, 3 Montgomery area guys in this signing class. Obviously, that's our home turf. And we got several kids ranked highly in the state of Alabama on several of the sites, several kids that are ranked highly at their respective positions nationally. And I think those are things that are very pertinent.
Fans got the opportunity to talk with Coach Brown and his coaching staff about the newest Trojans on Wednesday night. Of course, Brown and his staff are excited about this recruiting class. The players that they didn't get, though, are now a part of the past.
In recruiting, the only thing that matters are the people that are the guys that you get signed. The guys that we signed today, the only ones that matter. And I think it's important about getting the right fit culturally here at Troy, not only within our town but within our football program.
William McCarthy, Troy, TrojanVision Sports.
Wednesday would have marked what have been Rosa Parks' 103rd birthday. And to mark the occasion, the Rosa Parks Museum on Troy's Montgomery campus offered some special events to celebrate. Deborah Bogart has the details from our Montgomery News Bureau.
This past year, the nation celebrated a major anniversary of a defining moment in the civil rights movement. And this week, the Troy University Rosa Parks Library and Museum is celebrating an influential woman who helped bring about this change. February 4th, the Montgomery Museum will celebrate what would be Parks' 103rd birthday. Scheduler of Rosa Parks Museum, Donna Biesel, says they have a full day of events planned open to the public.
The biggest thing is we have free admission for everybody to both the children's wing and the main wing that day. We're also handing out birthday cake as long as it's available. There are going to be students from Bellingrath School, Middle School, which is an area middle school, who are going to be singing here in the foyer. And then we are having a one-woman show from a student at Troy who is doing a Rosa Parks show down in our auditorium.
While this isn't the first year that the Rosa Parks Museum has celebrated her birthday, they have revamped the event in hoping to get more community involvement.
The last several years, they haven't really done much community involvement as far as getting the community involved and celebrating and honoring her. So that's something that we've tried to do this year with the Troy community as well as the Montgomery community.
Biesel hopes that this is just the beginning of the community being involved in the celebration, and that in the future years it will continue to expand.
We want to continue with the community involvement and expand that to get more, because this year it's really just the one school that we're working with, but to try to get at least all the middle schools involved. 7th grade is when they do history, or civics, and cover the civil rights movement. So we would really like to get those 7th graders more involved with things that go on, but also just get families more involved from the community.
The museum will be open for free tours on Thursday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. In Montgomery, I'm Deborah Bogart, Troy, Trojan Vision News.
Troy University's Martin Luther King Week of Service lasted a little longer than just 1 week. It continued to last Friday as Troy students got a chance to help build a house. Ryan Renfro has more from Friday's construction site.
An international organization recently has gone back to work, but this time a little closer to home. Habitat for Humanity recently resumed construction of a new house here in Troy, and they were not alone as Troy students arrived, grabbed a shovel, and went to work.
It begins with the person who has the need, maybe has a low income and a large family and needs a larger house or a better place to live. The gentleman we believe will inhabit this house when everything is said and done actually drove the very first nail and has been here every time we've worked.
Students that came out to help today learned a few skills along the way, one of them being exactly what I'm doing right now, which is called backfilling. I'm taking this shovel and I'm filling in the holes alongside the house to provide safety for the people working on it and support for the foundation itself. And Mr. Dawson says that without the local support, none of this would be possible.
I think it would almost be impossible to do what we do without the support of Troy University and the faculty, staff, and students. Students show up very eager, very able, young and strong, and they help a tremendous amount, and they learn some things while they're here.
One Troy student shares what she likes about Habitat for Humanity.
I think that it's a very good organization, with it being able to help those who may not have the financial stability to be able to go out, and to be able to build their homes for themselves, or be able to do certain things for themselves. This organization is able to help them.
Ryan Renfro, Troy, Trojan Vision News.
We'll take a short break, but when we return, we'll see how Miss Troy University is looking to improve the lives of area children. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
It's chamomile. Listen, you are extremely terrifying. Just the scariest undead subhuman thing on TV, and I really mean that. But I am worried that you could give my kids nightmares if they see you, so I'm gonna have to block you. So that's it. Oh, and tell the zombies they're blocked too.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. they gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Now back to Troy Trojan Vision News Weekly.
Weekly meetings aren't the only way Troy's student body can get involved with the Student Government Association. The SGA reached out to students this week to get feedback regarding student concerns, comments, and suggestions. Sarah Singletary has the details.
The Student Government Association wants to hear from you. SGA members sat in the Trojan Center during the lunchtime rush to get feedback from students. One senator shares the importance behind establishing a line of communication between SGA and the student body.
We are representatives of our school, and so if you don't have the communication and feedback, then you don't know if you're really representing their needs and wants correctly.
These surveys found in the Trojan Center gave students the chance to list any concerns they had with the university. From parking to housing, students were able to make their needs known to the SGA.
I suggested to have free workout classes in the gym on campus and just also keep campus clean and picked up.
I have a lot of concerns with things going on in housing as far as cost of laundry, because it's way too expensive to do laundry. I do laundry 2 to 3 times a week, and it costs $1.25 per machine. And so the other day, it cost me $6.25 to do 2 loads of laundry.
Dudinsky says receiving student concerns is the first step to seeing change on campus.
We'll take back all the cards that they fill out, look at them and say, okay, what's practical, what's not practical, what have we already dealt with and are really not getting anywhere with, but what are things that we can actually do? And we'll write resolutions, propose them to SGA, get them passed. If they do get passed by the majority, we'll go and bring it to Dean Reeves and see if we can resolve the issue.
Tiaras is an annual event that teaches girls 12 through 18 the importance of self-respect and self-worth, with the help of Miss Troy University Leah Livingston. Samantha Charles has more on how students can help make the event special for the girls involved.
Over 200 girls from surrounding areas gather each year to attend Tiaras. Tiaras is an annual event held on Troy University's campus that teaches teenage girls the importance of purity, self-respect, and self-worth.
Tiaras is an event for teen girls ages 12 to 18, and it really just focuses on moral principles like purity, self-worth, self-confidence, and it's a night where they just get to dress up, walk a pink carpet, come in, be escorted, feel beautiful, and then it'll be escorted into a ceremony where they're going to experience worship, a message by some guest speakers and worship artists, and then a crowning ceremony where every girl will physically be crowned with a tiara that they are the daughter of the king.
Tiaras is currently holding a dress drive in the Trojan Center to collect formal and semi-formal dresses for the girls in attendance.
Tiaras is really funded #1 by donations, so anyone who wants to either sponsor Tiaras anyway financially, that would be a great help. But we also are holding it on campus at Troy University, so a lot of the participation comes through college students and anyone else who is willing to help and participate. So there's decor, there's food, there's setup, there's tear down, and just being an escort, which is a lot of the college guys, or a group leader, which is a lot of the college girls. Just really helping these younger girls feel beautiful and strong and empowered.
From photo corners, guest speakers, and even a crowning ceremony, this year's event is sure to bring many surprises.
Girls who have maybe come in the past, they won't know what to expect this year. So we have a lot of tricks up our sleeve and lots of giveaways. We're just really excited because it's going to be bigger than ever. We want as many people that can attend to attend.
Livingston brought Tiaras to Troy University in the spring of 2014. However, this is the last year for Tiaras in Troy.
This is our last year just as of right now. We're looking for someone to kind of take the reins on it. I'm graduating. A lot of the people who've been responsible and participating in the last couple of years are moving on to the next chapter in their lives. And unless maybe we take it with us, it's kind of up in the air right now. So we're really just trying to put the pieces together.
Samantha Charles, Troy, Trojan Vision News.
The art of storytelling made its return to Troy last weekend for the 10th annual Pike Piddler Storytelling Festival. And Troy University students got a taste of the festival in a free preview of the performance. Sherry Kotzum has the story.
To help kick off the weekend, Troy University students got to sit back and laugh as award-winning storyteller Kim Whitecamp gave them a preview of Saturday's Pike Piddler Storytelling Festival. The yearly festival will be celebrating its 10th anniversary and host 4 of the top storytellers in the country.
Oh, well, first of all, the lineup is amazing. Actually, Donald Davis is here and Kevin Kling, and I have to say that in the world that I walk on the national circuit, we all know if there were Elvises in our realm, they would be the Elvises. And I'm not just saying that to be nice, it's true. And then I'm here. Well, what more do you need? And it's a joke. And Josh Goforth, who is not only a great storyteller, but his musicianship will blow anybody away. I don't care what level you are as a musician, even if you're not, you kind of stop to breathe when Josh plays. I do at least, and then you sit back, you're like, whoa, I just saw greatness. So I have to say the lineup is probably one of the most stellar lineups I've seen on the circuit in a while.
Even though storytelling is usually something for children, Mrs. Whitecamp says that adults will enjoy the festival just as much.
Well, I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that it's for kids. It's not for kids. Now, listen, it's for grown-ups, but it's safe for kids. If you bring kids, you're not going to be upset. But it really is for grown-ups. It's kind of like a spa for the soul, which now I have all the men saying there's no way I'm going. But it is like a spa for the soul, and I'm telling you, men leave all the time from storytelling festivals, and they'll stop by my merch table and go, you know, my wife made me come, and am I glad I did? They're shocked at how much they loved it.
The Storytelling Festival will be held in the Trojan Center Theater, with performances at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. for $10, and at 6:30 p.m. for $15. Sherry Kotzum, Troy, TrojanVision News.
Americans celebrate New Year's on January 1st, but the Chinese New Year doesn't usually kick off until sometime in February. Troy students got to learn all about the holiday at last week's Chinese Corner. Christy Henderson has the story.
Troy University students got to celebrate a different kind of New Year at this week's Chinese Corner. The first day of the lunar month is known as the Chinese New Year or Spring Festival. The event is the most important traditional festival in China.
I talked about the origin of this festival celebration and how do people celebrate the festival and what are the major decorations or traditions and the traditional food, all the traditional costumes as well.
And although the Chinese Corner event was just a brief introduction into what the Spring Festival was all about, a few students shared what they found most interesting about festival culture.
I used to think why there is so much dominance of the color red in Chinese culture. So now I came to know that it is all about bringing luck and then driving out something evil.
The mythology of the festival itself, you know, the cultural background that you can learn, the whole using firecrackers to scare away tigers was pretty interesting.
They cook different foods and stuff, different sweets and stuff. That's what I mostly really like. It's like all the different type foods.
Students of many nationalities attended the Spring Festival introduction, and Zhang shared why she believes it's important for these students to learn about a new culture.
When students come to our Chinese Corner, very often they will know more about Chinese traditions, Chinese culture, Chinese customs. If they can understand the Chinese culture, they will understand the people.
This year's Chinese New Year will begin Monday, February 8th. Christy Henderson, Troy, TrojanVision News.
We're going to take another quick break, but when we come back, we'll hear some offerings from our friends at Troy Public Radio. So don't touch that dial.
You make me wear my bike helmet. Taught me never to run with scissors.
You tell me to stay away from drugs.
To always buckle my seatbelt.
And to follow the swimming rules.
You're always looking out for me and trying to keep me safe.
So why do you keep a loaded gun in your drawer? Here in the garage.
Closet. Shoebox. Under the bed.
Where anyone can get to it. How safe is that?
How safe is that?
How safe is that?
You asked them to follow some safety rules. Now they're asking you. In fact, they're counting on you. Never let your gun get into the wrong hands. If you own a firearm and are not using it, please be responsible and be sure that it's stored in a safe place. Remember, always lock it up. For more information on firearm storage safety, visit ncpc.org.
Now back to Troy Trojan Vision News Weekly.
Each time we take some time to hear some of the work done by our broadcast partners at Troy Public Radio. As we do each week, we'll get another sample of Talk of Troy, the student-produced newscast of Troy Public Radio. Let's take a listen.
It's the Talk of Troy. Voices and sounds from the campuses of Troy University. I'm Grishma Rimal. Fraud and corruption in the business world are unfortunately a common occurrence. But as producer Kenya Taylor reports, there are efforts underway to lessen their impact.
According to Dan Teed, an assistant professor of accounting, incidents of business fraud are on the rise in the Wiregrass area. So he and other fraud protection professionals have planned a workshop to address the problem.
We want to help any small business person to understand how and why fraud is committed.
Teed hopes that the entrepreneurs and small business owners will take what they learn and work to reduce incidents of fraud and corruption.
Well, we hope what they're going to take away is an awareness of what can happen if they don't use these internal controls to their best advantage.
The event will take place on Wednesday, the 17th, on the Dothan campus, and registration is required. For the Talk of Troy, I'm Kenya Taylor.
Iconic civil rights activist Rosa Parks would have been 103 on February 4th. On Thursday, free admission to the Rosa Parks Museum and other events honored her legacy. The museum's director Felicia Bell says a current exhibit focuses on how the media portrayed the boycott her arrest started.
Editors played a big role in what stories were told and what slant was put on those stories. Depending on what paper you read, you might look at the boycott as a positive thing or a negative thing.
The Montgomery bus boycott, a reflection of 60 years, will be on display through February 29th. I'm Grishma Rimal, and you've been listening to The Talk of Troy, a production of Troy Public Radio.
Throughout the week, Troy Public Radio can be heard on 89.9 in Troy and Montgomery, 88.7 in Dothan, and 91.7 in Phoenix City. Well, it's time for our last break, but when we return, we'll learn more about this year's Journalism Symposium. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
The warrior spirit, it's in there. Always has been. Now let it out and take the world by fire. Train well and learn what it means to be a Troy Trojan. Walk with confidence, conquer, claim territory, and climb ladders. Know that you have the power to stand alone, but the comfort of knowing that you'll never have to. Discover your inner warrior. Find it at troy.edu/spirit. This is Thomas. During the day, he works in research, and at night, he's a warrior. Soon he'll have a degree from Troy University, a historic and affordable public university with flexible online and in-class courses, and professors who know their students by name. Do what you love and be great at it. That's the warrior spirit. Learn more at troy.edu/workingwarrior.
Now back to Troy Trojan Vision News Weekly.
Troy's Hall School of Journalism and Communication will hold their annual symposium on February 11th. And in this week's Trojan Talk, we'll get a preview of this year's symposium. Hello and welcome to Trojan Talk. I'm your host, Aaron Taylor. Today we'll be discussing the Journalism Symposium taking place this year. My guest today is journalism professor and the moderator for the symposium, Steve Stewart. Steve, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Aaron. I'm glad to be here.
And the annual Journalism Symposium, this year we've got a special guest coming in that's a Pulitzer Prize winner. We'll talk more about that later. But for the folks out there that are unfamiliar with the symposium and what the School of Journalism does, tell us a little about the symposium and what the symposium is supposed to set forth for the students. So,
the symposium is an event that's open to the public that we have in the spring, where we invite outside speakers in to talk about journalism and communication in some form. The full name of the symposium is the M. Stanton Evans Symposium on Money, Politics, and the Media. And it's named after Stan Evans, who was one of our faculty members for decades. Stan died last year. This will be the first one we've had since Stan's death, but he was one of our outstanding, nationally known faculty members. and the symposium is named for him. And we invite journalists generally to talk about how to do good journalism.
And covering a lot of those topics you're talking about there, money, politics, and the media. And in past years, there's been a wide variety of guests that have taken part in this. I know many years ago, Karl Rove was a guest at the symposium. Right. You've had people from the New York Times and various other media outlets that have been a part of the symposium. And I know it's an eye-opening experience for journalists out there, journalism students, to learn a little bit more from people who are out there practicing in the field.
That's right. Going out there and seeing people who actually practice it and have done it themselves. And in this case, we've got a guy who's not only has done it, but he wrote a book about how other people did it. That's very valuable to students and to practicing journalists.
And let's talk a little about the guest of this year's symposium. Who have we got coming?
His name is Hank Klibanoff. Hank is the co-author of The Race Beat. It's the story of how the news media covered the civil rights movement in the 1930s through the 60s, I guess. And Hank is a newspaper man by profession. He was in journalism as a practitioner for about 35 years. He and his co-author, Gene Roberts, another newspaper man, wrote this book, which is a very well-documented and researched history of how the news media, the newspapers, radio and television, covered the civil rights movement and the difference that made in society.
And I would think that the timing kind of works out, especially with everything that's going on in the state within the last year, with all of the anniversaries that took place last year regarding the civil rights movement, and the fact that a lot of that took place right up the road. I know it's got to hit close to home probably to a lot of the students and maybe some of the faculty members that are and staff that will be taking part in listening to the symposium.
That's right. We had last year, of course, the anniversary of the Selma Voting Rights March, among other civil rights milestones, and that took place in Alabama. And Alabama is also the venue for a lot of events that are described in this book. A lot of the characters in the book are Alabama people. Grover Hall, Jr., who was editor of the Montgomery Advertiser, for whom our journalism school is named, is one of the editors whose activities and efforts are described in this book.
So there's a connection to the Hall School of Journalism in this book and what might be discussed. So some students may learn a little bit about the place where they're taking classes every day.
That's correct.
So now for this also, we talked about for journalism students, but this is also open to the public. And there may be a lot of folks out there who are interested in this, and especially those that are interested in the civil rights movement. So you don't necessarily have to be a journalism student or member of the journalism faculty to take part in this.
That's correct. We encourage students and individuals from all fields of interest to come, particularly, for example, history and politics, and those who are interested in human rights. There's a lot of material here that we'll be talking about, not only the issues that were taking place back in the 20th century, but also the ones that remain today.
And now, but obviously the symposium is happening in the morning, but there's also another opportunity for anyone interested in getting some firsthand advice from a Pulitzer Prize winner. You've got another event happening in the afternoon as well, right?
That's right. Mr. Klibanoff will be meeting with interested faculty and students. Anybody can come in Wallace Hall, room 336B at 1 o'clock. It'll be over by 2. And that's about writing and editing, and I'm sure about reporting and researching. His book is a good example of academic research as well as a good example of journalism. So he can offer a lot of good advice about how to get that stuff done and do it right.
And put it all together. So now if anyone is interested in participating in the symposium and attending the symposium, when and where will it be?
The symposium starts at 10 o'clock on Thursday morning, February 11th, in the Trojan Center Ballroom at Troy University in Troy, Alabama. It'll last about an hour and a half.
And so open to anyone who's interested in learning a little bit about covering the civil rights movement and race journalism throughout the decades.
It's a public event. We have a hashtag, which is RaceBeatTroy, on Twitter. If you want to get more information there, you can look there. And we'll also be sharing a conversation about the symposium on that, using that hashtag.
On there. Well, good luck with this year's symposium. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Harry.
And thank you for joining us on today's edition of Trojan Talk. And that's what happened on the first week of February 2016. To find out what's happening throughout the week, you can tune in to Troy TrojanVision News at 5, 6:30, and 10:30, Monday through Friday, or anytime by following us on Twitter at Troy TV News. Also, feel free to like our Troy Trojan News fan page on Facebook. We hope you join us again next week for another edition of Troy TrojanVision Weekly. Have a good week.